Namaskar. Welcome to this new session. We were so far dealing with means of yoga, which are Abhyasa Vairagya. Abhyasa Vairagya Abhyam Tannirodha. So the means to restrain the chitta, means to restrain the chitta or means of restraint of chitta or means of yoga, because yoga is samadhi. Samadhi is chitta vritti nirodha. So the means of yoga are mentioned to be abhyasa and vairagya. Abhyasa is effort to be steady the chitta, and then we very naively understand abhyasa is to be steady the mind, and we have gone into it how there is a big difference and non-difference between effort to be steady the mind and effort to be steady the chitta. And vairagya is the means to dispassionate the mind, and more precisely means to have vitrushna in the chitta, means to have vishaya vitrushna in the chitta. Vishaya means objects of senses and objects of mind. Vitrushna means vigata trushna, that is going past any thirst. So we have seen that it is not thirstlessness, but it is thirst goneness. That is vitrushna. Because in so many places we don't have thirst at all. For example, many of them have no urge or no thirst for any spiritual wisdom. Now you can't call it thirstlessness because they don't have thirst for spiritual wisdom. There are some who have thirst for spiritual wisdom. There are some who don't have thirst for spiritual wisdom. There are some who have thirst for material gains. There are some who don't have thirst for material gain. And therefore, thirstlessness is not vairagya, but thirst goneness, vigata trushna. Vigata trushna means going past, going across any thirst. That means thirst was there and now one has gone past, one has gone across the thirst. So those are the means, abhyasa and vairagya. So in classical sense, if someone says somebody is doing yoga, then actually if you open out the factors, somebody is putting some efforts. Kaya vacha manasa, vacha manasa shvasa, kaya vacha manasa shvasa indriya, to be steady the mind, be steady the chitta. And then thirst goneness in mind and thirst goneness in chitta. That is really is doing yoga. Now this will be little difficult to assimilate today, because if you ask anyone, why do you do yoga today? And what happens to you by doing yoga today? So the usual answer is that I am doing for my physical fitness and mental fitness, physical well-being and mental well-being. I feel wonderfully fine after yoga. I feel wonderful after yoga. So these are effects of what we do. But in classical sense, when yoga is done, the effect was that somebody would be getting the steadied condition of chitta. Steady condition of chitta or calm condition of the chitta, and then vigata trushna in the mind, vigata trushna in the chitta. So Patanjali is saying here that in case of a yogi of very high hierarchy, Uttamadhikari, who is the uh, target, targeted audience of the first chapter of Yoga Sutras. Samadhipada is targeting Uttamadhikari, highly qualified yogi. So, in that case, for Uttamadhikari, the effect of Abhyasa Vairagya is what? Effect of Abhyasa Vairagya is not feeling fine, feeling light, feeling sublime, feeling serene, feeling noble, but getting Samadhi. Now, this will not be comprehended by we commoners by any stretch of imagination. Because for us, if what will happen by our yoga, whatever we do as yoga, we'll feel sublime, maybe quiet, maybe serene, or wellness and well-being, physical, mental well-being, or as it is in fashion today to say that well-being of body, mind and soul. If we'll feel fine in body, mind and soul, we'll feel elated in body, mind and soul. We will feel blissful in body, mind and soul. So this is what is the effect of yoga for us. Now we have to understand this in classical sense as to what is the effect of yoga. So, Vashikara Sagnya Vairagya was mentioned in the sutra, in the text, you should recall. So, suppose somebody gets it, somebody attains it. What is the consequence? What is the result? What is the outcome? With Vashikara Sagnya Vairagya actualized, there will be corresponding caliber of Abhyasa. That is, effort to be steady the chitta. It will be of the same caliber. And now, when there is that caliber of Abhyasa and that caliber of Vairagya actualized, the eventuality, the consequence, the effect is onset of Samprajnata Samadhi. Now, on our plane, what happens by yoga need not be told. Those who do yoga, they do experience. After their yoga, what happens? Disease free, some problems were there, problems are gone, physical maladies have been mitigated or have gone, or mental maladies have been mitigated or have gone. That is all it will happen to us by our yoga. And therefore we will need to have a stretch of imagination as to what will happen. We can't be gauging it from what happens to us. We can't be gauging that as to what happens to one who has Vashikara Sagnya Vairagya and corresponding Abhyasa caliber. We cannot be able to imagine, but we need to have a stretch of imagination. And there is no need to have stretch of imagination itself when we look into the text. Textual purport will tell you. So the point is, for you and me and for commoners and then all these practitioners in the world today, where we find Tom, Dick and Harry taking recourse to yoga. So what happens to Tom, Dick and Harry? What happens to someone who is doing with more sincerity and more dedication? There are some who say, I do more honestly. I do my yoga with dedication. I do my yoga with honesty. I do my yoga with sincerity, honesty, earnestness. What is the outcome? That will tell you the caliber of the components of Abhyasa and components of Vairagya. Because the outcome will correspond to the components. The caliber of the components. The caliber of so in classical yoga we must at least have this kind of radar indications that when we are doing yoga we should not be looking at the tangible fruits and worldly mundane fruits whereby we feel that we become sublime, we become quiet, we become serene, etc. Or we become light, or we become electrified, or we become energized. These are the various outcomes that it will happen by yoga. From overcoming to maladies, weaknesses, diseases, etc. So somebody will say, I get more and more electrified, energized. I can work whole day with energies. Energetically I can work. And then what is the form of energy? It is a form of energy whereby one is able to carry out good worldly activity, mundane activity, personal activity. There are countless forms of energies. So, today when yoga has spread like wildfire, everyone is engulfed by yoga today, we can very well understand what is the consequence of one pursuing yoga. And from the consequence, we will be able to know whether there is any component of Abhyasa Vairagya. In classical yogic practices, what is to be qualified and quantified, measured and assessed is how far the Abhyasa potentials are surfaced, how far Vairagya potentials are surfaced, what is the caliber of Abhyasa potentials and caliber of Vairagya potentials. It's not that feeling wellness and feeling well-being and feeling fine, feeling wonderful, feeling sublime, feeling quiet, feeling seventh heavenly bliss. That is not the effect of classical yoga. That is the effect of consumeristic yoga. And today all over the world the consumer yoga is catered so that you will be able to have tangible fruits and you will be having satisfaction of your yogic pursuit. So, Abhyasa potentials and Vairagya potentials. So, if you are in pursuance of classical yoga, you must have meters to tell you that Abhyasa potentials are being turned out, and this is the potency of Abhyasa potentials. Vairagya potentials are being turned out, and this is the potentials of Vairagya potentials. If that is not really significant, if we are back to square one every time, and not only every time we'll be back to square one, but year after year, decade after decade, we are back to square one insofar as Vairagya potentials are concerned and Abhyasa potentials are concerned. That means we are misled in our yoga. If we are properly led in our yoga, if there is education in our yoga, then we will be always having this at sight. Abhyasa potentials and Vairagya potentials. It is not that by every day you should be evolving by your yoga. We will have to allow some time for evolvement of the consciousness, for yoga to seep through, penetrate through the consciousness and then evolve the consciousness. It's not instantaneous thing. Like today we have instant coffees and instant edible things, eatable things, 2 minutes noodles. There is nothing like yoga means a workout of 20 minutes and then you are able to relish the effect of yoga. And that is not really what we should be looking for. over a period of time, our consciousness should evolve. Evolve in the sense of what? Abhyasa potentials and Vairagya potentials. They have to be evolved. Now, if you recall, both while dealing with Abhyasa and Vairagya, I said basically our practices should turn out sublimity. They should turn out tranquility, neutrality, sublimity, virginity, etc., and then purity and piety and sanctity. So just sublimity is not enough. We need to go past even sublimation. So tranquility, neutrality, virginity, sublimity, purity, piety, sanctity, sanity, equity, equanimity, these effects of yoga have been constantly sounded during these sessions, during the sessions on yoga. So, when you are pure, pious and sanct, you can have the Abhyas potentials and Vairagya potentials significantly surfaced. So, this is what happens to you and me in our yoga, and also I have tried to tell you what should happen by our yoga if it is classical approach. Because every teacher is claiming these days that they are teaching classical yoga. For us to really have our own assessment, it has to be seen how much Vairagya potential, Abhyasa potential is surfaced. And that is by the Sattva Guna. That is by Dharmya Vritti, Sattva Guna. That is by Daivi Sampada. It is not just empirical, psychological state of purity, piety, sanctity. It must be more deeper. It must be of the chitta. Therefore, to a very deeper plane of mind stuff, such transformations have to take place. Anyway, now in Patanjali's text, we come across mention of effect of Ashtanga Yoga, which is by Adhamadhikari, one who is on the lowest rung. He is called Adhamadhikari in classical yoga. So the effect of Ashtanga Yoga is that it will generate Abhyasa Vairagya potentials. And then if you have evolved sufficiently, it will be complete Ashtanga Yoga, which includes Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. So it will bestow Samadhi. It will bestow Ashtanga Samadhi. That is called Anga Samadhi. And then there is something called as Angi Samadhi. Angi Samadhi means Asampragnata Samadhi. The Kriya Yogi, in Kriya Yoga, the practitioners of Kriya Yoga, the effect will be Samadhi Bhavana and Kleshatanukarnartha. So Ashtanga Yoga will come to level of Kriya Yoga by the time Samadhi is actualized. Ashtanga Yoga will not actualize your Samadhi if you have not reached the Kriya Yoga rung, Kriya Yoga level. Because Ashtanga Yoga, when it is evolved, when one graduates in Ashtanga Yoga, then the practitioner will become a Kriya Yogi. And being a Kriya Yogi, what will be the effect is that there will be Samadhi Bhavana and Kleshatanukarana. That means Ashtanga Sadhana, Ashtanga Yoga will not give you that. Ashtanga Yoga will land you into Kriya Yoga plane. So Ashtanga Yoga effect is that it will give you the Vairagya which is little below the level of attaining Samadhi. Vairagya little below in caliber which will be able to give you Samadhi. And when Ashtanga Yoga is said to be giving Samadhi by itself, then that's the plane of Kriya Yoga. That's the plane of Kriya Yoga. So the effect of Kriya Yoga is Samadhi Bhavana. That means actualization of Samadhi, Samadhi Bhava, Samadhi appearance, and Klesha Tanukaranam, attenuation of the Kleshas, Avidya, Asmita, Raga, Dveshadi. Now in our case what happens? By our yoga, maybe we get a condition where our Shadripus are clipped. We feel little free, for a while free from Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. This is all that is going to happen at lower levels of yoga that we are in pursuit of. So we will free from Kama, we will be free from Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya to start with temporarily, and then perhaps little more permanently. So our yoga will work on sthula kleshas, and they will be our yoga will be countering sthula kleshas, which are klesha vrittis, which are kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. That's the first stage. When we say purificatory stage or purified condition, before purified condition, there has to be a phase which can be and should be considered as de-dirtification. First, we have to de-dirtify ourselves. We have to de-dirtify ourselves. We have a lot of dirt in our minds. As a worldly man, as a common man, there is a lot of dirt in our minds. We have likes and dislikes, loves and loathes. We have attachment, aversions. We have desires, passions, lust, greed. We have anger, exasperation. So we have kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya of whatever magnitude. So that is the dirt. So first there has to be de-dirtification, and it is not really proper to call that it is purification, because after de-dirtification, purification can commence. So understand these dynamics. So de-dirtification to purification, purification to more and more purification, then purification to piety, and then sanctity. So we can be going quite far in the direction of purification, which commences at de-dirtification. There is no such word in English, but there should be one for us to crystallize the psychodynamics of yoga. So the point is, Ashtanga Yoga will evolve Abhyasa Vairagya potentials up to an extent. So thereby your pranayam pratyahar will evolve. And then there will be prakasha avarana kshaya, which is effect of pranayam. And then we will be in a twilight condition of antaranga sadhana, which is dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Patanjali has classified Bahiranga sadhana, Antaranga sadhana. The first 5 limbs are Bahiranga sadhana, the last 3 limbs are Antaranga sadhana. So then that will be on the horizon. It will be only on the horizon and it will be twilight condition of dharana, dhyan, samadhi. So you should know the difference between twilight condition and sunrise. Sunrise means sun is visible, and in twilight condition sun is not yet visible. Sunrise has not yet taken place. So it will give twilight condition of antaranga sadhana, and therefore we will be smoothly transiting into Kriya Yoga phase, which is mentioned in the early part of the second chapter, Sadhana Pada, Tapaswadhyayeshwara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga, Samadhi Bhavanarthascha, Kleshatanukaranarthascha. So that is the effect of that yoga. When Samadhi Bhavana has taken place, when the Samadhi is actualized, then the mind, the yogi will be slowly delving into Samprajnata Bhumi, starting from Vitarkanugata, then Vicharanugata, then Anandanugata, and then Asmitanugata. That will be slowly exploring the Samprajnata Bhumi. The point is, the effect of Abhyasa Vairagya, when it reaches Vashikara plane of Vairagya, which is Drishtanushravika Vishay Vitrushnasya Vashikara Sagnya Vairagyam. Drishta Anushya Vishaye Vitrushna. And then therefore there will be corresponding Abhyasa potentials in the Chitta for the Chitta to be steady. So, Abhyasa of the caliber of Vashikara Sagnya Vairagya and the Vairagya of the caliber of Vashikara Sagnya Vairagya, there is that parity. There is a parity rate. And that parity will bestow Samprajnata Samadhi according to Patanjali. And therefore, as I said during the end of the last session, that we are embarking upon the next subject, which is Samprajnata Samadhi topic, which is outcome of Vashikara Sagnya Vairagya actualized, full bloom, and then corresponding caliber of Abhyasa. Now, at this juncture, we should also understand, because we all claim that we are all doing yoga. And what kind of yoga? That we are not even having a dream of getting Samprajnata Samadhi. We just want physical well-being and mental well-being and overcoming the diseases and maladies and problems. That means there are so many levels of yoga prior to Ashtanga Yoga. So if the Ashtanga Yoga in classical sense is yoga of Adhamadhikari according to Patanjali, we are Adhamadhama, Adhamadhamadhama, Adhamadhamadhamadhama, and perhaps ad infinitum. We are on such a lower hierarchy. Therefore, when we commence, as I said, our yoga will commence how? Put a question, how did you commence your yoga? Why did you commence your yoga? So, that will tell you about what kind of yoga you have pursued. So, the process is that we must have little information about yoga. Maybe information or misinformation, but we must have something. Then only we will decide to go for yoga. So we should know what is yoga. Then our information is that yoga gives you physical well-being, mental well-being, it will give you goodness, wellness, etc. in life. So that is what is yoga for us. So we'll have to know about yoga, either understand properly or improperly. And of course, there is no way to know it sufficiently, definitely insufficiently. And then with that, we'll have to start our learnings. We learn. We go to a teacher and learn from a teacher. We go on learning and learning and learning. There are so many things to learn. Then, of course, after having learned, we will try to study with our own caliber of intelligence. We will try to carry out study. We will try to study whatever you have learned. So we learn and therefore we practice. We practice and through practice we learn. So understand the dynamics. We learn and having learned we practice. To learn we practice. We practice and therefore we learn. We practice to be learning something. And having learned something, we will try to study something. We don't study something which we have not at all learnt at all. Something must be learnt. So if we have learnt something, we'll try to study something on it, about it. So learn, study, understand, comprehend, analyze, investigate, etc., etc. A thought process, deliberative thought process. We'll discuss with so many people. We'll interact with so many people. We'll exchange views about yoga with so many people. So that will either add to our knowledge about yoga, information about yoga, either constructively or not so constructively, or rightly or wrongly. But something will be there. This is how the process is. So, we'll be learning. We'll be studying. We'll be observing. We'll be experimenting. So try to understand the dynamics now. Whatever years of yoga you have done, have you merely done? Have you not tried? Have you not ventured to experiment somewhere, something? So understand this is how we go about. And this is perhaps not even run up to yoga. There is again long way to really reach the run up of yoga, and still this is pre-run up condition that we mortal, ordinary individuals do. If you are a child prodigy and a yogi, by being a child prodigy, it's a different thing. But otherwise, this is how we'll have to go. Trials and errors, try so many things, venture so many things, then try to experiment on so many things. So try to have kind of review of how you have gone through the process so far. Then later you will come to know that yoga is something that it doesn't happen by you doing it. Yoga happens by the happenings within you. The things have to happen within you and then yoga will happen. For the things to happen within you, you will have to do something. So you will have to do for the happenings to happen, and the happenings will make yoga happen. So you will realize at some point in time that this is how the process is. Not that you will do it and you will get it. Yoga is not something that you do and you get it. You do it and you do it for the things to happen within you. And when they are sufficiently happened, when they have sufficiently happened, they will make yoga happen. So yoga always fructifies by happenings. And if any doing is there, the doing must be for happening and not doing for happening of yoga itself. Something in between has to happen. And that happening will make yoga happen. This is how the yoga is and pursuit of yoga is, and you must try to crystallize this, take review of the things, try to objectively try to analyze the things and try to objectively understand how yoga might be happening. Yoga happens because of the happenings in your embodiment, and the happenings in the embodiment happen because you do something. So you will see that there are so many channels to handle Ashtanga Yoga. So somewhere you'll have to have this consideration, get introduced to various channels. And try to understand your channel. Maybe you started when you were young. That's the probability. Or you started when you were middle-aged. That's another probability. You started when you were a child. That's a probability. So these are probabilities. Either you started when you were a child, or you started when you were a teenager, or you started when you were a young person, or when you started you were a middle-aged person, or when you started you were adult. Or when you started you were middle-aged person, or when you started you were quite old. So these are the probabilities, and therefore you will have to handle various channels for your commencement. So there are various channels to commence yoga. One is consumerism. You are looking for certain benefits and therefore you are going for reaping of those benefits. Or maybe you want to exercise your body, mind, will, volition, intelligence, etc. So maybe you will go for exercisive process to exercise not only your corporeal body, but also exercise your intelligence, exercise your faculties. Or it can be practiced as out of idealism, that it is ideal to practice yoga. These are good practices, so let me practice yoga. That's called Adarshavada. So sometimes, or it is probable that we have started yoga because we were given the impression that it is good thing to practice yoga, and therefore as an ideal in life, or as idealistic practices, maybe somebody would commence yoga. Or somebody would commence yoga as a remedy, as a pathy. There are some problems in body or some problems in mind, and therefore yoga has been commenced. And then through yoga we are trying to go for some remedies. So that the maladies can be on the plane of body or on the plane of mind. So try to understand why you have commenced yoga, why somebody might commence yoga, why many people might have commenced yoga. Some people might have commenced yoga out of curiosity. Curiosity to know what is this. In our times, in Kali Yuga, in our times, why will we practice yoga? Tell me. Why someone will be practicing yoga? You can have a thought process and try to understand. There will be several reasons why so many people are taking up to yoga. The young and old and strong and weak and men and women, the educated ones, uneducated ones. We have assorted kind of people in our society today. So we can understand why so many people might be taking up yoga. For what reason you started yoga may not be reason for someone else to start yoga. Because maybe you were young and you had a condition, but somebody was not young, was very old and had another condition. So the priorities. So with what priorities we would be starting yoga today? And let me tell you, in Patanjali's consideration, no such yoga was considered. Wow, as to why we consider doing yoga today. In classical times, that was not at all consideration. Because yoga was not looked at something means of one's wellness and well-being in life. and the kind of wellness and well-being in life. And what is the wellness and well-being today? Just try to imagine what was the wellness and well-being for your ancestors. Where you find your wellness and well-being and where your ancestors might have found wellness and well-being will be poles apart, perhaps incomparable, perhaps contradicting. So we must have wider view of yoga, because yoga has flown from time immemorial, time without beginning. So for us to really understand and crystallize why yoga is commenced by us today will not give us the background why yoga was commenced some centuries ago, millennia ago, and eons ago. So why yoga was pursued in early part of Kali Yuga? Because now we are almost 5,000 years in Kali Yuga. We will not be able to imagine unless you have really gone into Puranas and our Itihasa. Then only you will be able to know why, what people were seeking 4,000 years ago and 5,000 years ago, and what people were seeking as wellness and well-being 10,000 years ago and 50,000 years ago. So in Kali Yuga, then prior to that Dwapar Yuga, prior to Dwapar Yuga was Treta Yuga, prior to Treta Yuga was Satya Yuga. So we have this concept of Yuga, Yuga Dharma. Yugas, more or less they are identical in making of a human psyche. Kali Yuga man is more or less of one kind than one of Dwapar Yuga, then one of Treta Yuga, one of Satya Yuga. So if we want to really know the basis of yoga for Patanjali or in Patanjali's text, we must visualize what was the concept of wellness, well-being in Satya Yuga, the first of the four yogas, Satya Yuga. Now when was this? In Kali Yuga we have gone 5,000 years. It was preceded by Dwapar Yuga of nearly 864,000 years. Dwapar Yuga was preceded by Treta Yuga, which lasted for some 12 lakhs of years. That means 1.2 million years. And then Satya Yuga, which lasted for something like 1.6 million years. So Satya Yuga means 1.2 million years of Treta Yuga, 864,000 years of Dwapar Yuga, and now 5,000 years of Kali Yuga. So you'll have to have sum of all these figures, then that will tell you when was Satya Yuga. And then what was general human psyche of Satya Yuga? Satya Yuga Dharma. So then we will understand why classical yoga was started according to Patanjali's considerations. Anyway, so there are so many channels. Point is, there are so many channels to commence yoga, pursue yoga, as idealistic practices or practices for consumeristic approach, consumerism, wellness in consumeristic way for body and mind, then more essential wellness of body and mind, or as a practice of austerities, tapas, some discipline, Ashtanga yoga practice as tapas, as discipline. Everything is commenced as tapas, as austerity, will, volition, intent. So there are so many ways to pursue yoga. Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, etc. will come in different ways for each of the channels mentioned here. So it could be tapasadhana, it could be dharma sadhana. So yoga can be as dharma sadhana. So tapasadhana, jnana sadhana, karma sadhana, which are more genuine than our yoga that we have in our times. So there are several channels of handling yoga by a neophyte, by a one who is trying to reach the run-up of Ashtanga Yoga. Or sometimes yoga is as Vrata Vaikalya, as observances. So somebody is Vratastha for whole life. Rarely you will find such a person in our times that whose whole life is Vratastha life, Vratastha Jivana. But then Ashtanga Yoga can come as Vrata. So Ashtanga Yoga can come in so many ways. Vyayama, Arogya, Adarsha, Adarshyavad, Tapasadhana, Dharma Sadhana, Vrata Sadhana. So from exercise, Vyayam, to Vrata, Ashtanga Yoga can come in so many ways. So we must try to taste each of these, how they may be, at least in our imaginations, and not just have tunnel vision that what I am doing is genuine yoga, because we all end up claiming mine is complete yoga. Somebody says mine is Purna yoga, mine is genuine yoga, mine is authentic yoga. These are all claims. So let's have education about it rather than be in an indoctrination that this is classical yoga, this is pure yoga, this is full yoga, as if all other yogas are partial, incomplete. So this, esteem, fighting for esteem, status, is the fight of modern man, and therefore you will come across such claims. That's why I say that you must get formally educated. Let us look into Shastras rather than believing in someone. Somebody says this is full yoga and therefore you say this is full yoga. Somebody says this is authentic yoga and therefore you think that is authentic yoga. Somebody claims that it is genuine yoga and therefore you believe that it's a genuine yoga. No, that is not the way. We have Shastras. We have Agamas. Let's try to understand through them. That's why we are embarking upon Patanjali Yoga. And we are trying to understand. So the point is, there are so many channels to be pursuing yoga. And therefore you will know how the fruit will be of each yoga. The fruit of Vyayama Yoga will be health. Fruit of Adarshyavad Yoga will be some kind of mental contentment, that I am practicing something, idealism. Then Tapa. The Tapa will give you certain powers. So we can understand what is the fruit of such Tapa channel, Vyayama channel, Adarshyavad channel, Tapa channel, Arogya channel, health channel, and then Vrata channel, Dharma channel, Jnana Sadhana channel, Karma Sadhana channel. So Jnana Sadhana, Karma Sadhana, Bhakti Sadhana, Dhyana Sadhana. So it is such a long legacy. So many contributions have come to yoga, and we must be aware of it. At least aware of it. How much we can embrace is one thing, how much we can do is one thing, but we should be knowing. Broaden our base of knowing, knowledge, rather than being being practical minded, that I will just take what is practically good for me and I will neglect rest of the things. No, that's not studentship. We have to know why yoga is practiced at large by the entire mankind in our times, Kali Yuga, Why yoga was practiced by whoever practiced in Dwapar Yoga? Why? In Treta Yoga? Why? In Satya Yoga? Why? Then we will be able to have some kind of database to understand what yoga is. Anyway, now we are going to embark upon the fructification of Abhyasa and Vairagya mentioned in Vashikara level. And therefore there will be some fruits at Yatamana level. By practicing Yatamana level of whatever caliber 1, caliber 2, caliber 3, there will be corresponding fruits. Then when you come to Vyatireka Sagnya Vairagya, which is little graduated level, then Ekendriya Sagnya further graduated level, and then Vashikara Sagnya further graduated level. So we are told about the fruits of Vashikara Sagnya Vairagya, therefore we can deduce, infer and extrapolate the fruits, the outcome, the consequence of yoga, which is out of Yatamana Sagnya level 1, Yatamana Sagnya level 2, Yatamana Sagnya level 3, and so on and so forth. So now we are going to understand the Vashikara Sagnya Vairagya, the Sampragnat level of Vairagya, where yoga is transforming, transformable. There yogi is transformed. And we can understand we really are not looking for transforming yoga. And our idea of transformation is very, very meager, so much meager that it doesn't really qualify to be called transformation. So with that, we'll end the session today and we'll proceed in our next session for Sampragnata plane. Namaste.